Good evening, Dr. Tasker.
Apologies, Secretary. Doctors.
You're late. He must be fined.
I stopped to share a few pleasantries with our hostess. The clock was striking the first quarter as I came in the door of the house.
Mayhap, but not the door of the club room.
There is a good reason for my tardiness.
It had best be so, should you wheedle your way out of the penalty.
It's true you did miss the loyal toast, Dr. Tasker.
Very well. My sixpence. Take it and welcome.
Gather your breath, Dr. Tasker.
Send round the cheering cup.
Thank you.
But do share with the company the reason for your mirth, so evident even before you've partaken the pleasure of our weekly fellowship.
I'm sorry, my friends. However, that's the very reason I did not arrive, for the first occasion on my reckoning, on time. I simply had to finish reading a certain amazing book. It's caused 2 tallow candles to burn out as I lost all track of the enemy. I was quite literally unable to put it down.
And what could this extraordinary volume be?
Extraordinary indeed. This morning I found trade at my silk emporium to be somewhat less than brisk, even considering the lateness of the year and the gathering clouds forewarning imminent possibility of snow.
Please? That matter is long since settled. Pray continue, Dr. Tasker.
Yet I could not fail to notice a mass of mankind congregating outside the neighbouring bookstore.
The sign of the Bible?
Your shop, Dr. Hinxman.
Aye, but it wasn't the good book flying off your shelves, was it?
Not today, no.
Inquiring from one of the gathering multitude the cause of this unusual press of people, I was informed of a tome, new printed, upon which the ink was barely dry, and about which I was assured anyone who enjoyed diversion must certainly procure at all costs.
Best day of trading since I took over the management. More than half the stocks sold on the first day of publication. Entirely unprecedented.
I heard nothing of this literary phenomenon.
Your loss, Secretary.
But would do share with us what volume could possibly have been the cause of such a bullish market.
2 miniature pocket volumes, in fact. Printed on superfine quality paper and retailing at the exceptionally reasonable price of 5 shillings the pair.
Yes, but what exactly is it?
This. The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman.
I see it bears the date 1760. Somewhat premature, as the new year is yet a fortnight hence.
I expect that might be for the benefit of potential readership in the capital. The fashionable metropolitan crowd wouldn't wish to buy anything a year out of date, and 1 month is as obsolete as 11.
So it has been printed and put on sale here in York before London.
Well, that might be speculation.
What's this set of indecipherable letters?
Looks like Greek to me.
This must be aimed at an educated market.
Your enthusiasm, Dr. Tasker, therefore comes as something of a surprise.
I know no more antiquated tongues than the man in the moon. But I didn't even peruse the title page, so eager was I to get my teeth into chapter 1.
Dr. Bridges, you are a cleric and a university man.
Terasitis anthropos ita pragmata ala tap eritin pragmaton sogmata.
Yes?
All Greek to me.
It translates as, it is not things which trouble men, but opinions about things.
Some truth in that, for sure.
The epigraph derives, I believe, from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus.
You know, it might even serve as a motto for the Good Humour Club. I interpret this as an argument for balance in response to all things.
I would heartily commend this work to every member for the promotion of good humour.
It is clearly the product of an erudite pen.
True enough. Another part is written entirely in French, untranslated.
And so it should be, given the subject it concerns.
So you have read it too, Dr. Garencieres?
I regret I was caught up in the general melee. I wish I had not expended my crown upon it.
But you did read it.
In part.
Evidently including the part written in French. Why was a foreign tongue deemed necessary?
On account of the topic under discussion.
Which was?
The topic under discussion was baptem inter uterine. Inter-uterine baptism.
I comprehend that to no greater degree when expressed in English.
It refers to a distasteful Romish practice of baptising a child before it is born, in instances when the mother's life is deemed to be in danger. In such circumstances, when the priest is unable to see any part of the unborn body, the rituals of the RCs allow the child to be baptised par le moyen d'un petit canule.
And again, I say,
In English, to put it bluntly, a squirt.
So this is a medical text?
Certainly not.
A theological tract, then?
Absolutely not.
Written by a Roman Catholic? Or by someone who wishes to attack them?
You will notice that nowhere on the title page is an author's name given.
Then it is not the work of this gentleman Shandy.
Oh, I see.
You're acquainted with the fellow, eh?
Not at all, but I'm well aware of Shandy.
No need to be paradoxical, Dr. Storr. Do you know him or not?
In the time-honoured vernacular of the rural portions of our county, as spoken by my dear parents, Shandy signifies crack-brained.
Appropriate designation for this bizarre novel.
Novel indeed.
Then you too have read it, Dr. Spooner.
I'm not one to be left out. It's the talk of the town.
It is?
But I cannot express the same degree of enthusiasm as my neighbour, Dr. Tasker.
Why so?
I confess I found it hard to follow.
That's what intrigued me most.
I continually failed to untangle the thread.
That's what gave me so much pleasure. Reading to be lost. Then of a sudden coming across the map again.
So it's a tale of travel, of adventure.
Like Robinson Crusoe. He came from York,
He wasn't real.
wasn't he?
I could not find a single adventure.
Is this Tristram Shandy fellow real or fictional?
Now that is hard to say.
How so? He can only be one or the other. No other logical possibility exists.
In point of fact, he barely exists at all.
But the book purports to be the story of a man's life.
Well, hardly. By the finish of the second volume, the hero
If such he may be so designated.
hasn't even been born.
Implying further volumes are planned, Dr. Hinxman?
'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished.
The consummation. That part, at least, I could follow.
Talk is for clarification, Dr. Spooner, not obfuscation.
Pardon my hesitation. Well, as there are no ladies present.
Nevertheless, no need to overstep the conventional bounds of decency.
I do wish you Cabal would let the rest of us in on your secret.
Yes, what's it all about?
It's not exactly easy to characterise.
It's about everything. And yet,
Nothing.
Really?
The purest lewdness from the very commencement.
Really?
oh yes, on the very first page, on the very first line of the very first chapter,
A chapter I had no difficulty in understanding.
the story starts with the hero's parents in the midst of the act of his geniture. Conjunction.
Do you mean there's a depiction of a scene of copulation?
As I said, a consummation devoutly to be wished.
Conception's no laughing matter.
This one is. You see, before the father can effect a climax, the mother interrupts him
In flagrante delicto.
and she breaks off to ask if he's not forgot to wind the clock.
There's a clock in this story.
Certainly, playing a most significant role.
Then, for professional reasons alone, I shall surely have to obtain a copy. I shall visit your shop tomorrow, Dr. Hinxman.
Best be early.
You can buy mine. I brought it here with me this night to petition Dr. Hinxman for a reimbursement of my 5 shillings wasted.
I am not a purveyor of used goods. Caveat emptor.
I should accept 4 shillings and 6.
This edition of yours is somewhat well thumbed.
It appears you gave it more than a cursory perusal.
Yes, I was reading it before I threw the volume against the wall in disgust.
I'm not buying battered goods.
I shall ensure 2 pristine volumes are reserved for you alone, Dr. Storr.
Thank you.
How do you justify peddling such filth?
Apothecary, heal thyself.
I've shifted nearly 200 copies today, almost more than half the print run. I fully expect to sell out tomorrow, on the second day of publication. It is already due to be reprinted and will be on sale in the metropolis by the beginning of the new year. As our fellow member Tasker confirms, this is one of the most popular works I've ever offered for sale, which leads me to wonder whether indecency might not emanate from the mind of the indecent.
This clock. I don't suppose the author specifies the maker.
As far as I recall, he only writes that it is a large house clock which requires winding once a week.
Oh, I should have liked to know.
I doubt if it were one of yours, Dr. Storr.
Pity. Though the merest mention of a clock is of interest to me. Perhaps I could skip the less savoury passages.
Oh, yes.
Doubtful. And why excise the choicest bits?
Such moments are but a small part of the whole.
It yet remains for you to reveal the nature of this whole.
Impossible without telling everything. All I can say is that whoever wrote it is extremely fond of digressions and exceptionally adept at giving his readers the slip. To my great amusement.
Is it a memoir or invention? Is it a work of history or of imagination? Is it fact or is it fiction? Is it philosophic or is it humorous?
All of these, and yet none.
Well, what is it? Is it satire?
If so, then the target of the lampoon must be every last one of us poor specimens of humanity. The way we act, the way we think, the way we are, the way we imagine ourselves to be.
Bah.
There was a recent trend in the trade for works of satire. That vogue has gone out of fashion.
Hear, hear to that.
The last satirical squib I recall was published here in York but a few months since.
What was that?
Don't you recall the hoo-ha over a political romance?
Ah, yes.
That tract about an old watch coat and a pair of black plush breeches.
What's that?
Well, it was a tale of a parish officer who takes for his own use a good warm watch coat which should rightly be for the benefit of the church sexton.
On the surface, maybe. But sharper intellects prepared to dig deeper would discern it is clearly an allegory about recent disturbances on the continent of Europe.
The machinations of the King of Prussia in particular, to my way of thinking.
Whereas I supposed it to concern the partition treaty of Italy. Surely.
What the deuce has Italy to do within the affair? It was clearly Germany.
Italy? I had not considered that interpretation. Your explanation has too much ingenuity in it to be altogether slighted.
And too much to be credited. Whatever this squib might have been allegorising of, thankfully all unsold copies were ordered to be destroyed by the Archbishop himself before it could achieve wider circulation.
Suggesting to me it rather concerned matters closer to home. Ecclesiastical scandals, the knowledge of which His Grace was keen to suppress. Eh, Dr. Bridges?
There was some such speculation.
I never did understand why it caused such offence to the Archbishop.
We need not look to Italy or Germany for the key to unlock that conundrum.
All I know is that blasted tract took a swipe at the remedies of my profession, for which calumny alone it deserved to be consigned to the flames.
Nothing whets the spirits like an insult.
The sharpest intellects of all were able to see this for what it was. Could not the portrayal of a greedy, pimping, pettifogging parish officer be a representation of a certain commissary and keeper general of the Exchequer and prerogative court of York? And if so, the honourable sexton who opposes his self-serving machinations could be none other than our dean.
Careful, Doctor.
Small wonder the Archbishop felt his nose tugged and dirty linen laundered before the eyes of the world by this fine-spun satire, and so intervened in such a despotic manner to suppress the free expression of opinion.
So that's what all the fuss was about.
One interpretation amongst many.
One which overthrows every other far-fetched supposition and establishes the certainty of mine own beyond the possibility of a doubt. That should be the last word in this debate.
So it wasn't about Italy?
Hold hard, sirs. We all know the progenitor of that devilish satirical stroke designed to foment dissension amongst the townsfolk. Don't we?
We do. Do we?
Aye. The very same preacher of that what-do-you-call-it which cost you a bottle of fortified wine this evening. The Reverend Mr. Sterne.
The Vicar of Sutton and Stillington.
Your friend Laurence Sterne.
It's no secret Laurie and I have been companions and colleagues since we were both scholars at the university. He at Jesus, myself at John's, which is more than can be said for any other members of this fraternity.
The hero of Tristram Shandy declares he too is a student of Jesus College.
Now there is a coincidence.
It cannot be denied the style of that pamphlet did betray a certain supercilious similarity with that of these volumes, which, for some unaccountable reason, have caused Dr. Tasker such mirth, a clever dickery, a smug tomfoolery.
You have a point, Dr. Garencieres. It can't be gainsaid, however crabbily expressed.